victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decide the fiction from the truth. Society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
All right, here we go. Once again, I'm ready, you're ready, we're ready. It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Can you believe it? Happy Sunday, everybody. Everybody here in the States, everybody overseas, no matter where you are, no matter what country you're in, no matter what corner of the world you are in, we're happy you're here. And we're going to be talking about music, the tie that binds us together. Music. If you don't want to talk about music, then put on the football game. Or you can always get on Instagram and disgrace book and carry on about politics. What's up, Victoria? Spiky, what's up? Yes, gray matter, absolutely. Big gray matter day today. Lori Dawn, what's happening? Ray Hogan, what do you say? Connecticut represent. How's things in the UK, John? I hope you are well. Hegs, what's up? Yes, we got another Haggerty on the show today. He spells it with 2 G's, so I don't know. What's happening in Troy? We've met the enemy, and the enemy is us. Troy, New York. Yeah, very cool. So, hope everybody is okay. Yes, today's going to be good. Why wouldn't it be? It's going to be good. Do good things. You know? Oh, listen, Astoria Lou, I'm sorry to take your eye off the Ranger game. I'm sorry, Is that right, Daniel? Whoa, Daniel. Hello from Palo Alto, Pennsylvania. I did not know there was a Palo Alto, Pennsylvania. I've been to Palo Alto, California. I did not know there's a Palo Alto, Pennsylvania. Very interesting. I'm intrigued. That said, got something exciting, a little bit of a surprise for everybody today. And if I'm excited, damn straight you better be excited, all right? You ready? Put your shoes and socks on, kids. Here we go. Please welcome our surprise guest today. She is known for incredible archive work of documenting the early Los Angeles punk and hardcore scene, including iconic photos of Black Flag, TSOL, Wasted Youth Misfits, and many, many more. Coming at us from Seattle, Washington, welcome back our friend and supporter, Allison Braun. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. How's Seattle?
It's sunny and cold today. Yeah,
Does it ever snow in Seattle?
It used to snow when I first moved to Seattle. It'd snow once a year, but with climate changing, it snows less and less. And actually, this is the driest January in the last 40 years here in lovely Seattle. So it's pretty dry.
Nice. So you're. I just want to let everyone know, Steven Messina is recovering. He had some eye surgery. And we thought it'd be a great opportunity to bring our friend Allison on, and we're going to let's do some show and tell. You sent me you sent me a couple of shots, and you're gonna give us some backstory on them. So the first one we're going to go with happens to be this, and knowing what I know, first, let's do this. Let's do this out there. Anybody recognize what this is, who this is? Post up, and we'll take it from there. Let's see if the audience recognizes this artist,
Or better yet, if the guy in front looking really scared, if anyone knows him, give me a shout out.
Right. And I will say this about this show. This is like, it looks like all like 19-year-old dudes. There's not like a single female. Okay, is it Jello Biafra? Is it Jello? Is it he's Jelloing? Is it Sha-na-na? Okay.
I'm going with Sha-na-na.
The front row looks so disinterested, you know? Okay. Yes, this is obviously Jello Biafra. You know, in their prime, I would think. Tell us, glean us some perspective on this great shot.
This is from 1981, September 1981, at the Florentine Gardens in Los Angeles. And the reason why I call this up is people ask me about various shows. This was the most dangerous, the scariest show I ever photographed. Of all the things that I remember, it's this one. And I'll tell you why. Dead Kennedy's always had, a great stage show. But the bouncers were kind of thugs that night. And, there was this really unfriendly, non-community vibe going on. So it was already there was a lot of anger in the air. And Dead Kennedys come on and they're playing. And if you notice, you guys, in 1981, there's no barriers in front of the stage, right? That's it. That's the stage. If you crawl on, you're in the show. That's it. And I'm sitting on the stage, and at some point, I don't know what happened, but the bouncers, were being really aggressive, and people flooded the stage. And all these kids came on stage, and Biafra is still singing, and he's waving, his arm and just doing, Dead Kennedy stuff. And more people came on stage. And what happened is I was starting to get jostled and pushed. And I climbed up on top of the monitor. So right behind me, there's the stage. They have monitors across, and they're usually at a higher up vantage point. For some stupid reason, I thought I'd be safe on top of the monitor. So I crawled up on top of the monitor, and then they started shaking the monitors. I'm sitting on top of the monitor, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get crushed if anything happens. So after a few songs in the set, I jump back onto the stage, and it's just mayhem everywhere. And I run off the stage to the back of the room. And I should have taken some pictures, and I'm sorry I didn't, probably because I was just pissed off. You couldn't see the band anymore. It was just, you could hear them playing, but it was just a complete chaos of energy on that stage, which was, I get great if you're into the music, but for me, I was like, I'm going to get crushed. And so
what was Florentine Gardens? I was never there. Was it a very big venue? Was it like, to me, it sounds like, like Winterland. It used to be an ice skating rink. Was it something that was like repurposed for shows like this? It was originally in like the 30s and 40s. It was a dance hall, and the Florentine Gardens had one of these, I don't know if you know this about swing dancing or old, a lot of the old types of dancing. The floors were built for that. So it actually had a special floor that I think, kind of like gave. Right. So it was always like a dance in a big band hall. And then it was in decline in the 80s. It was repurposed, and there was a bunch of really great punk shows there at the time. Yeah, I kind of got that feeling. Let's go on to another one. Let's go with this. Anybody out there know who this artist is? Please post it up. There you go. Let's see what comes up. Anybody know what this is? Let's see. Yeah, 1018. That's right. 1018 was a roller rink here in New York, right? And they repurposed it for music, but that happens a lot. And then there's sort of like these places that just have no business at all being music venues. They were just not. They were not. You know what I mean? They were. They were turned into music venues, but they're just wrong. But that was the only people that would rent to us. I mean, a former skate rink, a former bowling, a quinceañera place. I mean, no one else would rent to us, so we made do with the weirdest possible spaces. The VFW hall, totally. Right? Every VFW hall, and we're definitely gonna ask today's guest because he came up in that early DC scene where it was VFW halls and restaurants. So yes,
Masonic temples.
is it the Butthole Surfers? Is it Butthole Surfers? Is it Gibby Haynes? Is it Gibby? Yes, great photo, really cool shot. Butthole Surfers. Tell us about this shot.
So some people always ask me, Butthole Surfers, have aged really well. People really love that band. And I get asked a lot, do I have photos of Butthole Surfers? And I'm like, yes, I have 6 photos of Butthole Surfers. And people are like, why? And well, about a minute and a half after I took this picture, someone cold cocked me from behind and I got knocked out cold.
Oh.
Not the flash off my camera. Old cameras had a hot shoe, and you would screw the flash on the top of your camera, which was a hot shoe, and it wasn't it was pretty precarious setup, not made for punk rock. And so someone had cold cocked me behind. I went forward. The hot shoe ripped off my camera. I was knocked out cold, and I came to. The only time I was ever injured at a punk rock show. So you get 2 stories. Why don't I have any more photos of Butthole Surfers? And have you ever been hurt? Well, I'm out cold. Well, this was 1987, April of 1987 at the Skate Palace in Ventura. We talked about Oxnard at the beginning. So I was hanging out in Ventura County a lot. And in 1987, no one would call the paramedics. The show would end. They just sort of drag your limp body to the back of the club and just prop you up against the wall, and the show goes on. So somebody dragged me across the room, propped me up on against the wall with my camera in my lap with the broken flash and my camera bag next to me, nicely kind of packed. No one stole anything. No one hurt me, but I just kind of woke up and I'm sitting here thinking, how did I get it? What the hell just happened? And I'm just kind of sitting there going, I guess I'm done photographing the Butthole Surfers tonight, So that's what happened.
Texas Rebel says, wow, she's aged well. Were you like 5 back then?
Oh, 18, 19, 21. Yeah. I'm going to be 59 in a couple months. So,
Rich Zoller, who's a big fan of yours. I got to shout out Rich Zoller because Rich is here in New York City. He's a photographer, and he's one of those guys that is right up front in center at these shows lately, and he's up there just taking his lumps and just with these kids, and he's like right in the scrum getting pounded on for his art. He's one of those. He's just right in the mix.
He's taking it for the team. What's funny is when I was a kid, I was a lot more limber. And I was shooting a Sound and Fury festival last summer in LA. It was a hardcore festival. And I was sitting on stage taking pictures, and I got stuck. I couldn't get up. Security had to lift me like an old lady, and help me down the stairs, because I was like, oh, now I'm like the little old Jewish lady, limping around with all the kids around me. But yeah, I still get around.
That's great. Hey, I want to. Hey, John from Iron Cross. Hey, you come to the right place, man. So get ready. It's coming up. Here's the last one that we're going to do. A personal favorite of mine. I bet there's not many people that saw this band when they were great. Because early on, when this band was great, they were really great. So anybody know who this is? Boom. There you go. Let's see. Let's see what if anybody knows what this is. Let's see. Well, they got it right off the bat. Is it That's Awesome, Allison? Keep going. Is it?
Someone's gonna say Guns N' Roses. I'm just waiting for that.
No. We got the Germs.
Oh, interesting.
We got the Germs. We got the Billy Joel. It's not. Is it Discharge? Is it Discharge? Is it Discharge? Bear Bro, what's up? It's Discharge, right? And
it's Discharge. Yep.
And I think I know where this is. Just knowing your work and knowing this band a little bit. Is this? And I think I know this infamous show. Is this the Santa Monica Civic Arena, like 1983, 82?
It's close. This is actually the Olympic Auditorium
the
in
Olympic,
December
right.
1983.
Okay.
And it was, fans are gonna take me to task on this. I think this represented the last great tour of Discharge as the hardcore band we all, in that day just loved. Discharge was one of my top 3 favorite bands. I saw Discharge every time they played in LA. I have lots of photos of them, and I was just absolutely mesmerized by this band. I mean, it's their lyrics, their presence. I mean, there isn't, I think, in those old days, a finer hardcore band than Discharge. People can fight me on it, but like any band, they go through musical changes. And so when Discharge came back again, several years later, they had changed their style. And when they came back through, they looked a lot different and played different, like a lot of bands do. They changed their musical style. And when I saw them they played in San Diego with Dr. No and Blast, and they came on and played this new type of music, the crowd could not stand it, and they were throwing stuff and they were spitting on the band.
Excuse me.
And I just thought this time at the Olympic Auditorium,
Pat Baldwin asked, did she see the Grave New World tour? That's what that was that you're referring to, right?
That was I was talking about the Grave New World tour. I didn't know if there were any, that big dorks. And there are some people, if you listen to Grave New World now, it's not a bad metal album. I mean, there's a lot of people who like it, but if you put it in context of the time of what people were expecting, think of it as when Dylan, plugged in, I mean, that's kind of the reception that they got. I mean, every time I post a shot and I do this, just to see what people think. And there's a bunch of this on my feed. When I post something from the Grave New World tour and I write discuss, there's like 80 comments of the word. I mean, it triggers people till this day. But again, this was Olympic Auditorium, which was a great larger venue, old boxing, club, and it was huge. And again, this is before barriers. So that, if you're there, you are part of the show. I mean, these kids are completely into what's going on. And that's what I loved about these early hardcore days is that there wasn't a separation between the band and the audience. It was all part of an experience. I mean, look at the people in front. Look at the one, that one woman in front. Yeah. I think her name is Gina. I think she reached out to me. I was go, hey, that's me. But there's a magic there that will never be repeated. Even by this band, when they came back, they were different and people found it off-putting and shocking. But I'm still a fan. I'm still friends with their original drummer. We still chat, and I miss this. This was to me why I photographed punk rock. This shot right here has everything I just loved about hardcore.
Sure. GXH End of the World says Olympic Auditorium's a church now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Korean megachurch.
Yeah,
I had a museum exhibit at a place called La Plaza, which was talking about the Hispanic contribution to early Los Angeles and how the wrestling was a big part of it, and the Olympic Auditorium was a big venue for boxing and wrestling. And I drove past it, and it's like, whoa, it's a Korean megachurch, like just changing times.
Yeah, absolutely. Allison, that was great. So nice to see you again. Can you give us some anything new and exciting happening? What's going on with you? Tell us.
Sure. I'm going to be down in LA on April 5th. There's an opening of Orange County punk rock at the Fullerton Museum Center down in OC. Some of your favorite photos of Social Distortion, Shattered Faith, and OC bands. I'm in a show with some, fabulous photographers. Dina Douglas is going to be joining me. I think she's going to be on your show soon, and Marla Watson. So, we're all together in a show featuring some of the important OC bands from the 80s coming up. I'm hoping to make it to Punk Rock Bowling this year. We'll see if I can get a hold of Sean. I'm be there at least representing the Punk Rock Museum if we can put something together. And then later this year, fans in Europe, I'll be out in Croatia. I'm going to be in Pula for a punk festival at the end of July, and then I'm going to be in Split having an exhibition in Split, Croatia later this year. Also, this may happen. I'm trying to put together some stuff over in Boston and DC. I might be out there doing some books and talks. That's still to be determined. So I'll be popping up in various places.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's do this again soon. This was a lot of fun.
Okay. Absolutely. I love doing this, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Have a good rest of the day. Talk to you soon.
Cheers, man.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye. There you have it. Our good friend and supporter, Allison Braun, fantastic photographer, great supporter of the show. This is it. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. We are sponsored by the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and Mad Vintage. Mad Vintage buys, sells, and collects band shirts, primarily hardcore. The DIY operation was started and is operated by a hardcore kid who just loves collecting and eventually got into vintage clothing, specifically the realm of vintage band shirts. They are always looking to buy out collections to either keep, sell, or trade. New shirts added daily at www.madvintage.com and post it on Instagram. Dig deep into that closet of crap and reach out to them. Help me help you, Mad Vintage. That said, let's bring our guest on. Here we go. You asked for it, you got it. Let's clear the deck. Let's make sure nobody's killing each other in the chat room. Everybody's good. Here we go. Today's guest is a guitarist and songwriter hailing from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. He's known for his proficient work in the 1980s and 1990s with the bands Severin, 3, and the incredibly influential Iron Cross and Gray Matter. Please welcome, coming at us from Cape May, New Jersey, Mr. Mark Hagerty. Hey, man.
Hey. How you doing?
I'm good. That was cool, right?
That was really cool. Yeah. Discharge were an amazing band. I only saw them, I think their first tour, they played the 930 Club, which was just a phenomenal show. And there's some great photos from that show.
They were a very influential band early on. You know, just, I mean, a little like early on, I wouldn't say it was over my head, but I didn't. I mean, the records resonated with me, but they really influenced a lot of metal kids, a lot of metal guitar players. They really influenced.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the first couple of singles, those lyrics hold still true, very much so today. But yeah, I think when they played too, like, you know, Allison was talking about everybody just being up at the front of the stage. And I think one of the things I remember is Cal, he would just swing that mic. So like, you know, that was his stage. You know what I mean? You might have gotten hit with the mic if you got too close. So. Sure.
That's cool. Yeah. And you know, we're going to get to it, but I'm just putting a marker here. I thought of you when, you know, we were talking about like, VFW halls and stuff like that. We're going to definitely get to that, but let's bounce the ball back and forth a little bit. You know, how did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
Well, you know, I was born in London, and my mother's from New Zealand and my dad is South African. And they met in London, had me, and then my dad got a job in DC. He's a geologist and got a job at the U.S. Geological Survey doing some postgraduate work. So we moved to D.C. and it's kind of right around when the Moon Rocks came back in '68, and he discovered a mineral on those rocks, got a bunch of job offers, and then he just rolled.
Wow!
And left us in D.C. So that's why I ended up in DC, and nobody was really musical in my family. I mean, my mom, I definitely have like those first few 45s. My mom got me like the Animals, House of Rising Sun, Carl Douglas, Kung Fu Fighting, stuff like that. Sure. Godspell. You know, they had like Isaac Hayes records and Miriam Makeba records, but no, I didn't really grow up in a musical household. I just was always obsessed.
You know, one thing this has come up a million times on the show because we're the same age, is how vibrant sort of like radio was back then.
Yeah,
and like it's hard to imagine now, but like FM radio was incredibly vibrant, and you know, a lot of the kids our age, so much came through on the radio.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember I used to go to sleep listening to the radio, as like a lot of people did, and I was just looking at something in Dr. Demento. You know, I remember listening to him a lot, and his just insane record collection. You know, he's just got this brilliant collection of records, and yeah, the radio was a big deal. And growing up in DC, I heard a lot of different kinds of music.
Yeah.
You know, and there's early, like, I don't know, soul music that really just always was on the radio. That was, I feel like, childhood music, kind of.
Sure. And your mom was your mom was a teacher, right?
She was, yeah. She taught at the school, Georgetown Day School, which it's a private school in Washington, D.C. Was started in 1945, and it was the first integrated school, private or public.
Oh, wow.
In D.C.
Wow.
It was started by Jewish parents and Black parents that basically wanted their kids who were friends to go to the same school. So it was a liberal school, called the teachers by their first names.
Wow.
You know, it was like social justice was important. We spent a lot of time on Martin Luther King, the Holocaust. You know, I remember seeing in fourth grade, you know, it was the only time I ever saw like this Holocaust survivor came and talked to our class.
Wow.
Tattoo, and she told her story. And so there was a lot of, it was really educational in that way. But my mom, she was like a second, third, fourth grade teacher. She taught Brian Baker in second grade. Wow. Couple other people, but yeah.
And is this John that played with you in Iron Cross?
John Dunn.
Is it Texas Rebel? Who are you? Because he's.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. That is John Dunn. Yeah, he was very close with my mother, and he would come over and have tea with her even when I was not there. So yeah, he's a very close friend of mine.
Yeah. It's John Dunn. That's right.
John Dunn. Yeah.
Yeah. Ray Hogan asks, was go-go prevalent? I don't think it was that early on, right? Didn't that sort of morph out of disco and kind of R&B like in the ensuing years?
Yeah, I mean, my connection to it was more like 82, 83 in high school, where kids, I mean, you just heard go-go, and kids traded tapes all the time. You know, like homemade cassettes or whatever from a go-go show, and you know, those Globe posters that are kind of infamous.
Sure.
I mean, we're just everywhere, from boxing.
Yeah, right.
Really cool posters. But yeah, I mean, you heard go-go, you know, just on the street, and especially in high school, like the kids just, that's like what they listen to. So.
I know we're getting a little bit ahead, but is it safe to say, and I know I say this on the show a lot, like just my perception, just being a little bit of a sort of cultural, at this point, having a little perspective on things. I'm assuming that down there, at a certain point in the early, let's call it hardcore, in the early hardcore scene, early go-go scene, these sort of communities and cultures were kind of running head to head, like, and there was a lot of cross-pollination early on. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, totally. There absolutely was, and I think that both kind of outliers a little bit. You know, not very mainstream at all. I mean, go-go really never left DC, which is too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there was a certain kind of mutual interest and respect. I mean, I think, you know, people a little bit older than me in DC had more access to going to like a go-go show or hearing the records, but you know, yeah, it was definitely two kind of going along the same sort of path a little bit.
What was the first music that like really spoke to you, that you felt was like, this is mine, this isn't on the radio or like, what was the first music you heard like that you really felt connected to, like, this is my music?
I would have to say the Ramones. They were, Dante from Gray Matter, who owns a Black Cat. Him and his dad owned a health food restaurant, Food for Thought. And when we were in 6th grade, we worked every Wednesday there. We got $4.25 to put away like the deliveries. And there was this little record store that was like 3 blocks away called Bread and Roses. I think there was a head shop upstairs, and then downstairs was this wall. And we would go over there, and they had 10-cent records. So it was used records, some new records. But the guy, John, I don't remember his last name, worked there, and he was really into punk. And that's where I first heard the Ramones. They would have Sex Pistols bootlegs. And with $4.25 in your pocket, you could walk out of there with like 50 records if you were buying 10-cent records,
Sure.
But Ramones were really like the first. Ramones, Clash, Sex Pistols.
Sure.
And then of course, like the DC bands.
Yeah. What inspired you early on to pick up the guitar, and how did that come about as a very young person?
Yeah, I mean, I just was always interested in playing music and guitar. I used to go to this friend of mine's house, Alex Viorst, and his brother played guitar, and he could play these Kiss songs. And I loved Kiss, in like 5th and 6th grade. And I was like, man, that's just really cool. I can't even believe you can play these songs. And that's where I got my first guitar. I bought it for like $2 from him or something. And this homemade weird guitar. And then Dante and I just got really obsessed. His dad's restaurant always had music every night. So there was, and we sort of grew up working there. So we got exposed to like a wide range of different music. And yeah, it just spoke to me. It was just something that I loved.
It sounds like Dante's dad was like one of the unsung heroes of the early DC hardcore scene.
He really was. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was awesome. A little annoying, I'm sure, to him, but he had a very alternative scene at his restaurant, and there were hippies, there was a gay community,
sure,
bikers. It was kind of like a little bit roughneck, a little bit,
Are you and Dante the same age?
We are, yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of connect with Dante, and what was the first musical endeavor? Was it Broken Cross, or like what was the first? How did it come together?
Well, this Jeff Turner came to Georgetown Day School in 7th grade, and I had been playing soccer with him before in 6th or something like that. So we just really connected, and we all three really liked kind of punk music, and we started this band called the Punk Ruins. And then it was just, 2 guitars. Jeff played like keyboard and piano a little bit. And Dante played drums, and our friend Saskia Hamilton played bass. That's the Punk Ruins right there, practicing at the basement of Food for Thought.
You guys, it's incredible. I love photos like this. You just look like children. It's awesome. You look like you're 7 and 8 years old. It's incredible, man. Awesome.
That's funny.
Awesome.
Jeff, he could play piano, so he had like a musical ear already, and when he started playing guitar, he kind of play it with like one finger, like he would just tune the guitar to like E or D or whatever, but he knew enough about music so that we actually could kind of write songs, and he could sing. So that was really the first band. And there's Jeff and me in the basement of Food for Thought.
Is this a rehearsal, or is this kind of like we were having a little gig?
No, we would practice Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. And this was like the far storage area, so I'm sure we were so annoying to like the cooks that were down in the making,
Yeah.
But we were, young. And occasionally we'd practice. Food for Thought had a stage and a piano. So we would do recordings upstairs occasionally before the restaurant opened. And we actually, Jeff, you know, he has a studio, and we've put onto like DAT tape or CDs. Yeah, that's us. And
it looks like you're growing. There was a point where like a year, like you know, there was that 1 year where you had a growth spurt and the other guys sort of didn't. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I grew like a foot in 1 year, you know, and had like this thing called the Osgood Slaughter syndrome in my knee, where my knee didn't grow as quick as the rest of my body, and you know, had this big lump on my knee. But yeah, that's us in Battery Kimball Park in 8th grade, and Jeff's got a Clash t-shirt on, and
wow,
it's got my little punk jackets on there. But we were just best friends and played music together. And then, you know,
what? Let me ask you about this shot here. What's like? I tried to figure out, like, is this the beach? Hold on. I guess it's not the beach. Hold on. Let me just recalibrate. Here we go. At first, I thought this was the beach. Is this just like young punks in the city?
It is. That's the Kennedy Center behind us.
Wow. Wow.
So that's this area we used to call Flipper Beach, because this.
Oh, it is a beach.
Well, I mean, it's the Potomac. You know, back then, and if like you actually like got your foot or hand in it, like you got a rash, it was pretty gross. But that's Dante, our good friend Lindsay Levine, and myself. And we were just hanging out down there, and that all is like this beautiful waterfront thing that they've but you know, it gives a little bit of like a shot of what DC, you know, was like in the 80s. There were a lot of like sort of abandoned areas, and you know, a lot of the city was kind of forgotten, and you know, not really too much attention was paid to it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What is this? Okay, so this is an early flyer, and this is at Food for Thought. And
yeah. Now this is, we kind of took the name The Outsiders. So there were two older guys that worked at Food for Thought. There was this guy Joshua and this other dude Oliver. And Joshua was in this band called Mad Monty and the Maniacs. They actually played at Fort Reno with the Bad Brains. I used to have that flyer. So Food for Thought was having its 8th birthday, you know, it's a Friday night probably or something like that. So the restaurant would close down. And we got Youth Brigade to play, and that's the DC Youth Brigade.
Yeah.
And I think this was their first show. I'm not sure.
Wow.
But yeah, so we were called The Outsiders, and Dante and I and Mad Monty and Oliver rehearsed for like a month or something. And we learned a bunch of Joshua's songs, and he did a few of our Punk Ruins Outsiders songs, like Teenage Burnout. And
is this that lineup?
That's that lineup. That's Joshua with the mic in front, and it's Oliver Snarly Shoe. I think that was his like stage name. And Dante and I. Dante's at the top there. And the interesting thing about Mad Monty is one of the songs that we played was the song called Time Slays All, and he wrote the music to it. And this other guy wrote the lyrics, and it's about watching this older elderly woman get hit by a car in Georgetown. And so when Dante and I, after this band, we kept playing the music of that song. And when we started Iron Cross, or when I got into Iron Cross, that song actually became Crucified for Your Sins.
Wow.
Exactly. I mean, verbatim, Joshua's like the way he wrote it, where it slows down in the beginning, slows down in the middle. I mean, that's exactly. And Joshua was credited on the 45. If you look at the actual like label, you know, it gives credit to Mad Monty for Crucified.
And that's him with the cigarette in his mouth and the mustache?
That's him, yeah, the little mustache and
that's the guy that wrote the music to Crucified.
Yeah, and verbatim. Like, I mean,
Wow.
we didn't really change anything.
Wow.
And he was a
And-
really cool guy. You know, I learned a lot about playing guitar from him. And Oliver was exceptionally good bass player. I mean, they were rough. Like, we would practice in the morning, and they had their bottle of whiskey in their back pocket, and they were just, you know, there was always a cigarette burning in the headstock of the guitar, you know, with those guys. And but they were really cool, and they were super patient. Like, I would go over to Joshua's house. Now that's me, Dante, and our good friend Paul Hill.
Mm.
And this is in a random book that one of my mom's colleagues was like, hey, I think Mark and Dante are in this book. And this was like a college photography book, like from Nova. But that's probably 1981 or 1981, probably.
Does Dante still smoke? Because every picture I see of him, he's smoking. And I remember meeting him back then. Anytime I saw him, he was smoking. That kid smoked a lot back then. You know?
Well, he likes to have a thing. Like, if you look at like current photos of him, like from the Black Cat, he's always got a coffee cup or like maybe a cocktail. So he has like sort of a signature style that he rolls.
I see.
With, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the outsiders kind of play out their hand, and
we played that one show with Joshua, but Jeff, Dante, and I, we played a couple school dances at GDS, like 7th and 8th grade, and that's all the shows we ever played. But we have a lot of practice tapes from that, and there's also the version of Time Slays All, the Crucified song, that Dante and I want to just put out there online so people can hear it. It's interesting to hear the beginning of the song.
Time slays all.
Time slays all. Yeah, and the lyrics are really good, written by this guy Gordon Hartman, who was a waiter at Food for Thought.
Wow, incredible. So everyone's starting to go on in the chat room about Iron Cross. So how did it come together? What was the original lineup? What was the impetus to pull it all together?
Well, I was the second guitar player for Iron Cross. So the original lineup was Dante and Sab, and then Jamie Biddle on bass, and then John Falls, who was a scene guy, didn't play in a lot of other bands, but is a really amazing photographer, and he took tons of like Fugazi 90s era band photos. Excuse me. So those guys played, I don't know, they had a handful of songs. They played like a party, and then played a show at American University. And John Falls got pissed at the band and just kind of walked off stage like the second song or something. So I'd been to every practice, and I kind of knew a couple songs. So they got me on stage, and we finished the set. And then that's how I became the guitarist for Iron Cross. Jamie Biddle soon left. We didn't have a bass player forever. Like Eddie Janney, who was the guitarist in the Untouchables. He played in Rites of Spring and The Faith. We practiced at Discord House because Sab lived there. Right. And Eddie lived there too. So Eddie probably played the first few shows with us. And then Wendell was on bass. Then John Dunn eventually. Then Paul Cleary.
Where's my? I'm looking for my. Where's my skinhead glory 7-inch? So this is Wendell. This lineup when you recorded was Wendell on bass, correct?
Yeah, that's right. You know, and I should. Sorry, I should have said the very first. So the very first recording we did, which is the Flex Your Head stuff.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. Okay.
Chris Haskett, who actually played with the Rollins band, he played guitar with the Rollins band forever. He played bass, and he produced that first recording, the Flex Your Head stuff.
Right, which was the 3 songs: War Games, New Breed, and Live for Now.
Yeah, and there's like 4 or 5 more songs that we recorded in that session. So he was the bass player then. But then going back to Skinhead Glory, that's Wendell on bass.
But so this session and this release was predated the Skinhead Glory 7-inch.
That's right. Yep.
And did those other songs, the other songs you mentioned, were they ever released on anything for this session?
You know, they were, and I really want to re-release all this stuff on vinyl, just because, as you can see, I'm a vinyl addict. When Sab got Iron Cross back together after he came back from England, Dante and I. So, okay, let me start here. So for the Skinhead Glory recording, this is kind of a funny story. Sab, you know, we go to pay at the end of the thing, and we're like, okay, Sab, you got the band fund. And he's like, sorry, man, I spent it on rent. So I had always been working. And so I ended up paying for the session, the Skinhead Glory session. So I had the master tapes forever. So when Sab redid Iron Cross, like in 98, 96, 99, Dante and I went back into Inner Ear with Brian Baker, and we got all the tapes from this session, which there's like 4 more songs, and then the very first with Chris Haskett, there were like 4 more songs, and those came. We remixed it, we remastered it. Brian Baker did a great job producing it with Don.
Was this in Don's garage, or when he was in the studio?
No, this is actually in his
and when he had the studio,
but in the real
not in his basement,
right? Not real studio, but his other studio.
Right.
And it was great. It sounds so much better, of course, and you know, some of the weird glitches are gone. And there's also like Wendell singing Psycho Skin. There's a couple weird songs in there. It was re-released on a CD? On CD by this label GMM, I think. You know, I got 1 copy, you know, of the CD. It was like that kind of thing. I mean, it's not about money.
Time for a cool vinyl re-release.
Yeah, I think so too, with a bunch of photographs and whatnot. I think, you know, I think it'd be more like audiophile people, early punk people would be interested in more than anything else. Yeah.
Did just doing my homework. I just want to ask you, you know, while we're here about Crucified. You know, and sort of the folklore that comes with, you know, with it. You know, the metaphor of being crucified resonated with communists, anarchists, and apolitical skinheads who were sick of being labeled neo-Nazis. White power sympathizers and fascists who called themselves skinheads also identified with the song due to backlash they received for their reactionary and racist ideology. Crucified has become an anthem for both factions of skinheads worldwide. Man, that is, you know, wow. I mean, once it's like, you know, I know, I don't feel it's fair to say, you know, has that been sort of a heavy burden to carry? I don't know if that's, I don't think that's proper, but I mean, going through life and sort of seeing the evolution of the song must have just been really wild.
Yeah. I mean, the Iron Cross, I mean, it's a regrettable name, you know, it in many ways, and being associated with the fascist skinhead part has always been uncomfortable for all of us. And is not anything that any of us ever subscribed to. But, you know, hearing, I mean, you know, Sab and I were texting like, I don't know, 6 months ago. And we were just like, man, did you ever think, like, you know, because there's like a million different covers of Crucified. Like there's like a country western ones, and there's a lot of people do.
And Mike Reed asks, you know, agnostic front. I mean, it's almost like it reminds me a little bit of like Ian and the Straight Edge thing. You know, it's like, hey, we did this song Straight Edge. It was another song on the record. It wasn't meant. And then people just hand the baton to the next one, and then before you know it, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, I had reached out to you, you know, with Vinny and Roger when they were on that tour, just because I wanted to hear like if they did an Iron. I'd heard somewhere they may have done like Crucified, And it's always been an honor that those guys have done it. I mean, they're,
good guys.
Yeah, really good guys. And they do a great version. And I've just always been like really touched that they did that song and so many people know it. I mean, I think it's really because of them that that song got so much recognition, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's almost like it just sort of, the baton gets passed. It's to the next person. And then people follow back the breadcrumbs and go, this was it's like, it sort of reminds me, like when we grew up in the 70s, it's like, wait a second, this Rolling Stones song, where did this come from? Oh, it came from a guy named Muddy Waters. You sort of follow it. You follow the breadcrumbs back, the lineage.
No, it blows me away. I mean, I'm super touched that it's had as much exposure. I mean, not the sort of Nazi fascist part, but I mean, Sab wrote the lyrics. They're really good lyrics. Like I said, we but we borrowed the music from Mad Monty, which is kind of funny. And it was always fun to play. I always dug playing it live, and it was definitely like a sort of sing along, a little bit of an anthem type thing. And
here's a shot of the band. Is this the early on, right?
Yeah, this is probably 81. Maybe, I think this is the first Wilson Center show that we played. So it would be the second Wilson Center show that ever happened.
Right.
And yeah, I'm pretty sure during this set, like, maybe it was SOA when Wendell's dad came and like dragged him off the stage, kind of like at home, But yeah, this is at Wilson Center. And I forget who took these photos, unfortunately.
I'd be amiss not to ask you. You're playing the Les Paul there, right?
That is Eddie's Les Paul Les Paul copy. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Just the sound, your guitar sound on Skinhead Glory. What was the gear?
So part of the sound was this MXR distortion box I had, but it had been in a flood. Like, we used to practice at Cynthia and Anna Connolly's mom's house, and the Faith practiced there too. And I think the box got left on the floor, and the basement got flooded, and so it just had this. I still have it, and it still works, and it still sounds pretty gnarly, but. So I was using Eddie Janney's Les Paul copy, which had like a little bit of a warped neck. And then that weird distortion pedal, the MXR.
Now that's a different guitar, but
that's my Mustang, which I still have. That was my very first guitar, like real guitar that I bought. And that thing was a nightmare too. I mean, I was terrible at tuning. Like, it was just horrendous. So that's the sound, and I'm probably going through like this weird, like, no name amp I had, but I know it does sound good, but
it's wild. It's wild how, sort of a haphazard, almost, by chance sound. Cause I was listening to it, one of the great things about doing this show is I get to sort of revisit music that just meant so much to me as a teenager, including all the Iron Cross stuff. That
means a lot.
As a young teenage skinhead, in Boston at the time, I loved Iron Cross, and that record, the guitar sound. I love the guitar sound on that record. Just love it. Somebody asked about any info, Mike Reed asks, any info on Skinflint Records?
Yeah. Well, Skinflint was a fanzine that Sab started, probably in 1981. I think he made 4 issues or something like that. And it was just basically like about the scene. Like, he had John Stab, show reviews. It was like an MLRR kind of thing. I mean, Stab was film reviews.
Boy, God rest his soul, and he's missed. I would love to get his film reviews right now.
my God, and he was like, yeah, we spent a lot of time with him because he worked at this record store and he would stay over at Discord in the weekends because he lived in the suburbs and couldn't get a bus home or whatever.
Yeah,
so he just was always at Discord sleeping on the couch, and we always practiced in the weekends. And yeah, man, he was so funny. And like I love John Stabb.
he was great.
Yeah, but so Skinflint Records was, here we go with Bobby Ferrando, Dante's father again. Discord didn't want to put out, so Sab lived at Discord House. So he probably like pressured them a little bit, like, hey, can you put our 45 out? And they didn't really want to do it, but they're like, okay, we'll do a half label. You guys pay for the recording, blah, blah, blah. We'll distribute it, kind of thing. And so that's where the half label came in. And
they did that quite a bit. I think they did that with, there's probably 10 different configurations of, this record, that record, Fountain of Youth,
mainly
X-Claim, whatever, right?
Exactly, right. SSD, Necros, some of those early ones.
Touch and Go, yeah.
Exactly, like really generous. Like they, it wouldn't have gotten half of, it just wouldn't have gone anywhere anyway. So we borrowed the money from Dante's dad, and here he goes again, Bobby Ferrando. And we took the name from Sab's fanzine, and that was Skinflint Records.
Yeah.
And I think he used it on maybe some later Iron Cross releases when I was not in the band, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think this kind of this reminded me of it is in 1982. I came down from Boston. I came down, when we used to do the SSD control thing, like everybody in the van, and we road tripped, I think 20 of us from Boston.
I remember that.
And it was at the Chancery. Yep. It was government issue SSD control and Iron Cross. Yep. And what triggered this memory was we came down. I think we came down into town, I think early that day or maybe the day before, because I remember going to the record store and visiting John Stabb in the record store. I also remember visiting Ian in a movie theater. He was in Usher in a movie. I remember.
Yeah. A lot of those guys, Sab, Ian, Eddie, Bert, Guy Picciotto, a bunch of them worked at the Georgetown movie theater.
Okay. And we went and visited him there.
Yeah, and he was probably there. They all wore, there was one jacket that they all they hung it up at the end of the thing. And then
that's funny.
Steve Niles from Grey Matter.
Is that right? The Key Theater, Dan Neese says.
Not Key. It was called the Georgetown Theater, and had a big neon Georgetown sign that actually Sab and I painted it. But they're famous because they played Caligula, 9,000 times in a row or something like that. I mean, not that many, but I didn't really know the dude that owned it, but supposedly Gus, I think his name, he was a really good guy. So Ian, he was probably the usher at the theater.
And I remember on that trip we were in the basement of the Discord house, and I remember thinking, these guys practice down here. It was like the ceiling was really.
Oh yeah, you had to be between like the ceiling.
You had to be between the wood, the braces.
And too, that basement would not flood, but it was like underground. So when it rained, it got wet. So it was all carpeted, and then you would stand on these kind of bread crates, or like a milk crate, but like the flat bread crates.
That's great.
Man, we all got shocked, like horrendous.
Really? Oh, that's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
So back to here's another flyer from that show that we came down for. Iron Cross government issue GI. Now I'm looking for that picture that I showed you recently that both you and I are in. Here it is. Oh no, that's not. Go ahead. Go ahead.
There's another cool photo. I was just looking at Band in DC today just to get like a date of something. And there's another photo. I almost sent it to you because I'm like, that's Drew. And it's at that Chancery show.
Yeah. I know the picture. I know
Okay.
that picture from the book. That's is that Naomi's? Whose book is that again?
Cynthia Connolly.
Cynthia's book.
Yeah.
Here's the other shot that's kind of been around, and it's a real. I love these shots. I mean, you know, these photographs are incredible. All this stuff, like the stuff that Allison do, it's just such an incredible moment in time. You know, Brian Baker's on stage.
Yeah.
You know,
it's Mike Hampton next to him. That's me.
You next to you is Jamie from SSD.
Okay.
A couple down with the sleeve cap is Choke from Slapshot, and then one or two. Then I'm standing there in the black thermal. I see Alec. Is that Alec with
Alec Mackay, the blonde hair. And there, Alec Bourgeois is right there. He was the singer in Severin, many other bands. Chris Bald is kind of next to. Yeah, is sort of right next to you. Donald.
I'm there. John says I'm there with my big ears.
John is in that photograph. I see Tiffany Pruitt there, who is another like great friend of ours, phenomenal photographer, captured so much of that scene. There's Sab actually is right near there too. No, really. And the Chancery was a really cool, weird venue. It was. You know, just kind of in the middle of nowhere, you know.
It was an interesting, it was an interesting day. And who's making out in the background? Was somebody making out in the background of that? I didn't see that. So sort of going along the Iron Cross, you know, timeline, the Discord stuff comes out first and then Skinhead Glory. And this is the last recording you did with the band, correct?
That's right. Yeah. And Lyle Pressler, we went back to the same studio, Catch a Buzz, which wasn't about like getting stoned. It was he had a cat named Buzz and was always like looking for a cat, I think is the story goes. But anyway, Lyle produced this record. And Lyle was having none of me using that horrible guitar.
Right.
So I actually used Lyle's Les Paul.
The Les Paul?
The Les Paul, which, you know, Lyle, he was a couple years older than me. We went to the same school, and his sister was in my class, Anna. And, you know, so, you know, as a 13-year-old, like someone who's 16 or 17, like you're on the bottom rung. You know what I mean? I remember going over to Anna's and Lyle's mom's house where Minor Threat first practiced. And Anna was like, if you guys touch anything, I'm going to kill you down here. You know, like she didn't even allow us like to go, you know, on the floor of the basement. You know what I mean? And so,
hey, we're Iron Cross. I don't give a fuck who you are.
Oh yeah. And so, that's but funny. Lyle was really generous, and he brought his guitar just in case, which was a really good thing. And, you know, Minor Threat, I mean, those guys, I mean, there were so many bands back then that didn't have equipment, you know?
Right.
And I know Lyle and Jeff Nelson we're just tired of people using their gear, but they were insanely generous and they had good gear and they knew how to use it. I mean, I think Lyle was one of the first people that actually had a guitar tuner, you know? And those guys were players, man. Like Brian, phenomenal, you know?
It's no mistake. It's, you know, in looking back and having some perspective on it, you know, it's no mistake. It wasn't just by chance. They were a great band. They were great live. You know what they were? I'll tell you what, they were in tune.
Absolutely in tune.
For those of you out there, let me just say this. For those of you out there that, you know, never saw Minor Threat back in the day, one thing that Minor Threat was, which 99% of the bands weren't back then, is they were crystal clear in tune.
Oh yeah. And they worked at that stuff. I mean, I remember, you know, I was at Discord a lot, man. Those guys practiced, you know, they practiced a lot. They worked on stuff. and they took it really seriously. I mean,
Yeah.
Brian, phenomenal guitar player. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember my mom in, I don't know what, I mean, he wasn't in second grade, but she knew him as a student. She was like, man, that kid, this is a smart kid. He's really a good guitar player, even back like when he was 10 or whatever. But that other photo you were showing us.
Of you guys on the stairs?
Yeah, that's with John Dunn.
Yeah.
Playing bass. And that was taken by Tesco V. From touching from the Meatmen.
Right. Right.
And that was Tesco worked at, it was the same record store that you visited Stab at, John Stab. Yeah.
And I'll never forget John Stab was wearing the rainbow trousers, and because how I remember this, because Jamie from SSD fairly recently said to me, man, you gave him such a hard time about this, because I was a bit of a wise ass, and like, and I was probably rudely like, what the fuck are you wearing, bro? Like,
we all gave him a hard time. I mean, his nickname was Bobo the Clown, and he took it like, we all harangued him,
Just trying to get through a couple more some of these great Iron Cross shots. Love these Iron Cross shots. Here's a great one. Boom.
Yeah, this photo is taken by Tiffany Pruitt. Really good photo. That's at the 930 Club. I think we were opening for The Exploited that night. And we played 2 sets. Like 930 Club used to do that back then. Like if it was just 2 bands, you would play like a, 9 o'clock set and then
that's
11
cool.
o'clock set. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was The Exploited. I'm not positive.
We should bring that back, man. I like that concept. Like 2 bands, like they like 2 sets. They play very early, and then there's a break, and then they play again.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, it's a workout a little bit, but especially for like people like me, I like to go to bed.
He says it's the angelic. John says the angelic upstarts.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
which was a really funny show, because we were all super, angelic upstarts. We were huge fans. We looked forward to this show. We admired them. And then there was a big to do because they kicked us out of the dressing room before their set, and that was like, it almost came up to fisticuffs. And says, and we were just really like disappointed, and our feelings were hurt, and we just didn't like understand. But Menzie was like, dude, look, I've driven 10 hours. I need to chill. You guys were annoying, or whatever it was. But
that's a beautiful guitar you're playing. What is that?
That was Sab's guitar. That's a Gibson Murado. And that guitar he got from Steve Angelica. I forget Steve's last name, who just passed away. But that's where all the gear, like Minor Threat, like it all came from Angela Instruments. And that particular guitar, when I got an email like, it was like 10 years ago. And when Sab lived in England, he had that guitar, and it got stolen at a show. And I got this email from this guy that sent me photos, and Steve Angelo like carved into the guitar. This guitar was made by Steve for Sab. And he's like, dude, I have the guitar if you want to buy it. And I really regret not, this is way before you could mail money in a sort of way that you weren't going to get ripped off. But that was a real guitar. It was a real guitar.
Wow.
And that's
it's a beautiful guitar.
It is. Yeah, they were like a cheaper kind of Gibson, I think. But that I didn't even think it had a guitar case forever. But that was the guitar.
Here, I got a show. Here's a show and tell for everybody out there. Identify. I know where this is, and I figured it out by just looking at who's in the crowd. So, what venue is this, New York people? Here you go.
Good one.
Look who's Look who's in the crowd. What venue? What venue is this? You know? Let's see. Let's see who gets this. You know? Come on. Yeah, there's a little lag time, so we got to give them a minute, but I recognize this right away. Looks like you're playing that same guitar.
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
Sab actually broke the mic that night, and the sound guy was like this big burly dude, and he was pissed. I don't know who we played with, but he was like, "Hey man, let me check out that guitar." And he was like, "This guitar is mine now, unless you pay for the mic that you broke."
Oh,
so we didn't get any. I mean, we didn't get any money for the show. It was $100 or whatever. But
right, yeah.
No one knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Astoria Lou got it. Great Gildersleeves. Pat Baldwin says Gildersleeves. No, that's not the antics. First off, come on, people. Look at who's third on the left in this shot. Who's that third on the left? Right? Come on. That's right. It's a young Vinny Stigma right there. So come on.
Vinny's man.
It's young Vinny Stigma. And there you go. It's a young and this is Iron Cross at Gildersleeves.
Yeah.
Why do I think did Iron Cross play with the Exploited at Gildersleeves? Why do I
No. I don't know. I don't know that we played. I've tried to look it up. Because I had that photo and another photo from Gildersleeves that Paul Cleary's girlfriend took. Now we probably can't see him because he's like tearing it up, but Harley was kind of the one everybody was like, "Oh shit!" Like I don't want to get slammed by him.
Right.
He was there, but yeah, that was great Gildersleeves, and we drove down in Paul Cleary, the bass player, his little Vega station wagon, and we had the SVT on the roof. And
wow,
think maybe a drum set, the Fender amp. I mean, we were all piled.
That SVT, aka the refrigerator. You had, oh man,
and so we pull onto Bowery, and none of us had ever really been, I think, on that street before. And the window washers, man, they just came out of nowhere. And we were like, "What do you?" We didn't really know what their deal was, and we were like protective over this SVT, but. I mean, we were dragging like the muffler like on 95, and I think the brakes didn't work. So,
Paul Stone asks, did you play with the Bad Brains at Gildersleeves?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't have many memory. I don't think I have a memory of the Bad Brains even playing Gildersleeves.
Yeah.
What's going on with this photo? This is an interesting shot. What's happening here?
That was a shot. That was it.
Wilson. Are you guys playing? Who's playing in the background?
I don't know who even played.
Oh, it's Negative Approach playing in the background.
You're right.
Yeah.
And that just shows the sort of like the fun that was going on, like Sab's got his Iron Cross shirt on, and that's Billy McKenzie right there holding
Billy McKenzie, is that the kid is he on the back of the Teen Idols record?
Yes.
That's where I recognize that face from.
He has the most insane flyer collection.
Is that right?
Anybody verbatim in DC. I mean, he was kind of like a little bit of like a drinker, but man, he supposedly, I've never seen it, has this set lists of SOA and like every.
Wonder where this was. It looks like what venue was like.
Space 2. Where did they play? Space 2 Arcade? No, I don't think it was
that. Like a garage. It looks like a garage door behind them.
It does. And I feel stupid not knowing.
But I'm just kind of going through these great shots that you sent me.
I've just always loved that shot because
that's a great shot. I want to say, and we're kind of heading towards taking a sponsor break, but Sab's coming up here. He's playing the next Bowery Berlin show that we're doing. We do the free all ages Sunday matinees. We got the Undead, Sad Plant, and Star Car, and I love Sab's new record. It's really great. It really put me back on my heels. It's really great. And I reached out to him and I asked him. I said, "Hey, I got Mark coming on the show. Can you give me any perspective on the guy? This is, and I quote from Sad Gray. He's a wonderful and warm human being. I hold him in immense high regard. I cherish the time we spent together as bandmates, and we wrote some really great songs.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. I mean,
Yeah.
Sab has always been close to my heart, and we just got along really well. He's funny as hell. He's so smart. He, I just always had a great time with him. I mean, he's a good person. He's a good front and center guy. Like he could ham it up, but he could also get really serious. And, I love that shot there.
He told me a story about a funny story about this show that you guys played in New York, which I was at.
Okay.
I was at this show, and it was at the old Jane Street Rock Hotel, the original Rock Hotel.
Yeah.
This was Agnostic Front, DOA. I think it was Agnostic Front, Iron Cross, DOA. I think that was the order.
Yeah.
But this apparently was this the last show you played with the band?
It was, yeah. And I think we played a couple of songs as a 2-guitar band with this guitarist Greg that we were trying to bring up as a guitar player. But yeah, this was an eye-opening show for me as well. I mean, first, just that building is amazing, and back then it was just it was rough, and the dressing rooms, like the hotel had these tiny little rooms, they were like real small.
Yeah.
And I remember
you mean the actual rooms in the hotel?
Yeah. Like, I've read about that's where the Titanic survivors actually stayed when they got back to New York. But at any rate,
but while you're there, let me say what that hotel was. That's an SRO, which is known as a single room occupancy hotel. I live here and do the show from the Dexter House Hotel where I live, which is an SRO, which is so it's originally where I live. It's still called the Dexter House Hotel. It's not a hotel per se anymore, but I live in an old hotel room. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. I live it's the same. It's a very old building. Dude, I joke on the show. The walls are like, it's like Hitler's bunker here. It's like the fucking walls are 12 feet thick.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really well made. Yeah. San Francisco had a lot of SROs, and but I remember going up and they were like, okay, here's the dressing room. It's really small. Like you can store your guitars here or whatever. And DOA was all sort of asleep, like together on one bed. And I have never smelled like socks and body odor like I did that night. And I was just like, man, these guys are road dogs. These are like really road warriors kind of thing, But that was a great show.
Here's a crowd shot from that night.
Oh, wow.
That's a crowd shot from that night.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple stories from that show that are kind of funny.
Now, Sab told me, like in the context, that you guys were bringing this guitar player up there, and basically the set started, and he kind of froze, and you had to like step in and like take over, and you saved the day. He's like, ask him about that. That was a really funny night.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's like the biggest show I think I'd ever played. I mean, it was like a big crowd. Real stage and stuff like that. And DOA and Agnostic Front were held high with us. So it was a really cool, and it sounded good up on the stage. I remember that. Like, I remember going up there after Greg kind of left or whatever happened. And I was like, I'm ready. It sounds good. The guitar sounded good. And I think we played well. I mean, I remember hanging out outside the club and Harley, coming up, and he had just been in a fight, and he had this like ring that had these 2 little spikes on it that had like blood. And I don't know, it was just a very like early New York You know, there was like a guy, like a midget in a 3-piece suit on a telephone up, you know, in the hotel, like, you know, like it was with like, you know, a fedora on. It was just like really weird. Like we did this interview in the hallway, and this kind of dominatrix woman kept telling us to shut up. And Sab kind of like went into her apartment, and I went in there with him, and she shut, like you said, this heavy door, like this metal door. It was like, bam. She goes, I want to show you guys something. And I thought, oh man, she's going to kill us. I was like, my mom is going to find out that I get killed in this like dominatrix, weird SRO room. And she brings out this whip and is like, what? And, you know, then I just left the room, and I don't know what happened after that. But I mean, nothing happened, but it was just a weird night, man. You know,
when I joined Antidote, the first show that I did singing for Antidote was a couple months after that, was at the Rock Hotel. This was on stage. This is me singing I think this was April of '84, first gig. There's Arthur Googie, who's coming up on the show as a guest. Okay. That's the first time I say, but you know, I gotta dig out this other shot. You're getting of what it looks like now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really interested because my wife and I have walked by there by Jane Street, and you know, I think it's probably a fancy hotel now, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, I found him. Hold on. Okay. So the place that we're showing you, fellow audience people, this is a couple of years ago now. I mean, but it's still basically the same. It is known now as the Jane Hotel, right? There it is now. And the room that used to be the ballroom.
Right. That's what it was. It was the ballroom, right?
It was a ballroom, has been reconfigured and remodeled into this beautiful lounge. That's where the inside of Agnostic Front Victim in Pain was in this room. It's like this huge room that's like this. Here's another shot. Here's another shot that I took. I took these shots a couple years ago. I was like, I wonder what's in there now. I walked right in and I took a couple of pictures. Here's the ballroom at the Rock Hotel.
Wow.
You know, I mean, wow. It's this is a little small, but you could go through those archways and it's crazy, right?
Yeah. No, and to find out that like that's where the survivors of the Titanic spent their first night or something.
That's right. Because lined up there was all these old SROs that sailors, which because those were the docks right there.
Docks right there, yep.
And they would. I took this picture that night. Not sure why I don't have any Iron Cross photos, but I took this picture that night. I gave it to Roger Moret from Agnostic Front, and it's in his new book. For some reason, I took this random picture of him sitting up on, like he was working security at the show. This is the night they took pictures that of them playing that ends there. It's the inside of their Victim in Pain record when you open it up. But for some reason, because I have some DOA shots, and me and Roger were friends. He was sitting up there with Amy, his girlfriend at the time, like curled up in his lap. I just turned around and took a picture of my friend Roger. And he told me when he was doing his book, I said, I got this one random weird picture in my, and I think he's like, oh my God, I got to have it for my book. I put an envelope, I mailed it to him.
And it just kind of captures that time period, you know?
It does.
Like
it does.
Sitting in a really precarious place, his girlfriend kind of like, it's probably loud as hell,
Yeah.
Chilling,
What, so as we sort of head to the break, why did you leave the band? What was the culmination?
Well, Dante, Jeff, and I, and Steve. Well, Steve, Dante, and Jeff had sort of been playing. This is pre-Gray Matter together, and like Iron Cross wasn't. It wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't speaking to me anymore. And I think I just was like in a change. I mean, it was no like dramatic thing or anything, but it was just time to do something different. And we were just getting into different stuff, and but no like weird feelings or any kind of like situation happened. But
was there like a prevalent of violence around the band? I always kind of thought just that things were getting ugly and violent and misunderstood, and like that's why sort of people left the band. It was just getting a little ugly.
Yeah, that definitely happened. I mean, as as that kind of music, more people started getting interested in it.
Yep.
It that sort of violent, the fighting, the sort of potential for violence, did come up, and that was a bummer. It was just a stressor.
Yeah.
And I remember, a couple just uncomfortable situations, like playing in Philly and Sab running off the stage and getting into a fight with someone, and then me running off and kind of, and it was just.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it was time for other stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever played those songs since?
I mean, I have like at home, like just for fun. My band that I'm currently in right now called the Copper Tones. We're kind of like everybody in my band is a surfer, so we kind of play like surf covers and original like garage rock. But I was gonna play we were gonna play a show with Sab's band and Dante's new band, the Owners.
Oh wow,
like, man, we have to do Crucified. Sab plays bass.
Yeah.
So but that show didn't happen because of whatever. Just
wondering. So okay, let me take a sponsor break. It'll be a couple minutes if you need to get up. It'll be like 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll be back here in a couple minutes. All right.
Thanks, dude. Okay, I will. I'm gonna get some water.
All right. There you have it. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Our guest today is Mark Hagerty. Come on, go deep. Here we go. Get weird. Let's do some sponsor stuff. Let's talk about upcoming shows, and let's talk about Gray Matter. Okay. Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Will that be cash or debt?
Do you mean debit?
Yes. Sorry. Another eternally satisfied customer.
Yo, what's happening? I'm out here at one of our all-ages Sunday matinees on the Bowery. I hope that you are enjoying today's show. I just want to let you know that the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live needs your support. Please step up. There is a Patreon page that has a lot of unique program. Shows are announced there first. Lots of good stuff. There's a PayPal address right there on the screen if you want to make a contribution. There's also a super chat function. You could do that, but the bottom line is this show exists because of your support. We're going to be doing it for a long, long time. Thank you for all your support through the years. Back to the show.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth, society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
And we're back. I hope you didn't wander off into traffic and get into any trouble. This is the only trouble you need. It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Hey, y'all, I want to mention a couple of upcoming shows. 1 week from today, speaking of the Stern Brothers and punk rock bowling and all that, 1 week from today, they will be on the show. Excited about that. Lots to talk about, man. Punk rock bowling is happening. Of course, we are excited. We are playing punk rock bowling on Friday, February 23rd. Incendiary Device, Stalag 13, The Effigies, Negative Approach, and 7 Seconds. So we'll be out there. I'm also talking to Punk Rock Museum about screening the New York Hardcore Chronicles film and doing a Q&A with some of the people that are in it. So if you're out at Punk Rock Bowling this year, there's going to be some really cool stuff. So 1 week from today, Sunday, February 2nd, the Stern Brothers. 1 week after that, my old Antidote bandmate, former Misfits drummer. This is going to be really interesting. The Goog will be on the show. A couple days after that, another really interesting one. Merle Allen will be on the show. You asked for it, you got it. That's like by popular demand. What can I tell you? Sunday, February 23rd, Dave Lombardo will be on the show. Wednesday, March 5th, Travis Nelson, a.k.a. Reverend Sinister of the Hub City Stompers. Carl Agel rescheduled for Sunday, March 9th. Dina Douglas. We love when photographers come on the show. Dina will be on the show Wednesday, March 12th to talk about her photographic archive. Kurt from DRI is Wednesday, March 19th. And Adam Blake of H2O is Sunday, March 23rd. That said, I just want to shout out my new patrons, Incendiary and Elisa Borgatti. Listen, please support the show. Support's really needed still to keep this thing going. The best way to do it is on Patreon. But also, I want to shout out, there's a PayPal address there. I know Patreon's not for everybody. I know there's a couple renegades out there, a couple pirates. There's a PayPal address. I want to shout out the Black Crow Farm and Thomas Fritz for making a little donation towards the show. Anything and everything. That's what keeps this show going. It doesn't just magically happen. So it's your support that makes it happen. So also I want to remind you, if you have a communication device, which something tells me you do, please pick it up. Follow the show and me under Stone Films NYC on Instagram. If you're watching in rerun, please, right there, subscribe to the Stone Films NYC YouTube channel so you get alerts whenever something new goes up. And please, if you can, give the show a thumbs up right now. If you can, I'd really appreciate it. I'm told that that like helps the analytics and gets the show out there. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm accessible. If you need advice on financial advice or sports handicapping, I got it all. But I'm an accessible person. It's part of what I do. I'd love to hear from you. I think that covers everything. Oh yeah, there's room on the boat for another sponsor still. So if anybody out there has, something they want to give a push to, please reach out. Even if it's for a month or two, there is room on the boat. So that said, everybody okay? And yeah, there are some amazing guests. Yep, Lombardo. Yeah, Googie. Listen, what can I tell you? Let's keep moving on. Don't need the Iron Cross stuff anymore. Let's bring Mark Haggerty back on. Woo! So, hey, did you see your hardcore trading card? Have you seen that?
No. Oh.
Yeah,
What?
here's the front.
No way.
Our man Josh Hurst does these. Here's the front. And I like says Iron Cross with the gray matter shirt.
That's cool.
But the back is really cool.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, I was
I'm
just
honored, man.
Yeah, I was just looking at the back. He did a great. He does a great job. He really does his homework and Josh does a great great job with this. But the back,
No.
I like a lot. It's very cool. The back says, you know, personal trivia. Discord Records release 8.5 was the Iron Cross Skinhead Glory 7-inch, released with the band's own Skinflint Records. Since the release of 82, the song Crucified has been covered by Agnostic Front, Discipline, The Business, Dinosaur Jr., The Take, Why Die, Stigma, 25 to Life, and many others. Yeah.
I'm honored. That's just amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so
Hey,
cool.
Josh, I think hey, Josh, reach out to Mark. Get him the,
I would love that.
there he is.
All right.
You're welcome, Josh. You do good work. And yeah. Ray Hogan asks, being in Cape May, did you catch the filming of A Complete Unknown?
No, but it was a big deal down here. Like I was doing deliveries and stuff, so there were like road closures and whatnot.
Right.
A few friends of ours saw like that guy cruising around and saw. I mean, I think there were a bunch of old cool cars. But one of the things that's kind of cool about that part of Cape May is that, you know, it's really retained, hasn't been like overly developed. So it's still.
What did you see the movie?
No, I haven't seen it yet, and I really want to. But it's supposed to be Newport, Rhode Island, right?
That's what I was gonna ask. I'm thinking like, what part of Cape? What was? So it was the Newport. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So they filmed it in Cape May because Cape May still has a lot of Victorians and blah blah blah. Yeah.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. Let's keep the train moving. So Gray Matter kind of comes into play in 1983. You know, I guess did Dante kind of leave Iron Cross first, and then you followed him?
Yeah, Dante definitely had a little bit of a falling out. We were going to go on a tour, like an Iron Cross Southern tour, like I think all the way to like Texas or something. So we played in Richmond, which was the first show of that tour, and it just all fell apart. And Dante quit the band, and you know, we all went home and canceled the shows. It just was like not meant to be, you know.
Youth.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like
so you got to move along.
You know.
But yeah, I mean, Dante, Jeff, and Steve had started this band called the G-Men,
right?
And were playing, and that, you know, I was kind of just more interested in playing with those guys, and so that kind of led me over there, and then we started Gray Matter.
Right. Was there sort of a mission statement for Gray Matter early on?
I mean, not other than like to have fun, you know.
No.
And kind of get back to
bands used to do that.
I know, right? Get back into a little bit of like not super seriousness, you know, like a little bit of like the teenage antics, and also giving a nod to like 60s bands that we always loved, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, you know, like Love, and trying to get a little bit of that into the music, and also just try to, I mean, we were getting older, a little bit better playing our instruments. So yeah, it was
so
an easy.
Things start kind of coming together, and this was the first recording. Was Ian involved with this?
Yeah, it was put out by Bert and Rich, R&B Records.
That's right.
So Ian and Bert produced it, and we did it at Don's, in the basement of Don's house, Don's and Tara at Inner Ear. And yeah, so it first came out on R&B Records, and I think Discord helped distribute it. And Bert was just a good friend and a fan, and so yeah.
Is what did when Ian produced your record back then, what sort of producer was he? Was he a hands-on guy? Or like what did it mean when I see produced by Ian MacKaye? Like,
he's basically in there with Don and tweaking some stuff, And I remember like, oh, I want to do an overdub of this lead. And he's like, you're not doing that. You know, there's
Right.
no, you know, that kind of thing, like trying to kind of get as much of a raw recording. I mean, this is my memory or whatever
Sure.
of
Right.
it. And basically not waste a bunch of time. And,
Right.
you know, this is one of the things, it's so kind of easy to do in the studio. And,
Yeah.
you know, I instantly go deaf, you know, kind of in a studio. But yeah, that was one of the first food for thought shows. And that was actually in the evening. It could have been Rites of Spring or King Faces first. Yeah, I mean, Ian does have ears. He knows how stuff should sound. I agree. And so this was one of the first food for thought shows we did. And this was actually in the evening, I believe. And after that, we started doing early morning shows on a Sunday. Before
Early morning shows?
Yeah, 10 a.m. is when the doors would open.
Really?
And basically, like, the scene was getting kind of big and annoying. We were looking to sort of like go back to like the little community of the DC punk thing, and not having it necessarily always having to be at a bar, like where like a big drunk guy could dominate the floor. You know, we wanted it to be more about music. And so Bobby Ferrando, here we go again.
Excuse me, is Bobby still with us?
No, he passed away, you know, unfortunately, but he's you know, he's with me every day.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it's only natural, like I got to reach out to Dante at some point and get him on. You know, like sometimes these shows have an evolution. Like we make our way from, you know, we jump from one lily pad. It's like, I think we got to get Dante on sometime in the future, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and running Black Cat, he's got a very interesting perspective on like the evolution of live music, where it is now.
Yeah.
You know, he's and
excuse me, Black Cat is pretty much it's a live venue, correct?
It's a live venue. Yeah. And yeah, they don't do, I think they have like dance stuff occasionally, but it's more about a live venue and music.
Yeah. Cool. So this is an ad. Actually, when you said R&B Records, I thought of Second Wind, because both of them were in the band Second Wind, which I always, you know, was never been re-released. I think. Who did I ask? Who did I ask about it? I was talking to somebody from that band, and I played it for the drummer in my band, who's a bit younger than me, big minded Jeff fan. I said, I said, find this. It's on YouTube, right? It's not on you find.
I don't think it's streaming or anything.
Yeah, right. It's on YouTube. I said, listen to this, man. I said, this is like Minor Threat's like stepbrother, man. It was like, this is like a stepbrother of Minor Threat, because you have Rich singing, who basically, anytime I saw Minor Threat, Rich was sort of roading for them or whatever, you know. So he had like he had Minor Threat coursing through his blood, right? And what's his name? Steve was playing guitar on. He had Minor Threat members in it, you know. Bert was played on it, right?
Right. Yep.
I mean, it sounds like a. Like in the parallel universe where Spider-Man's in the Fantastic Four, it's like a Minor Threat record. It's great.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I really like them. They practiced the Discord. You know, I got to hear those guys a lot. I think Iron Cross played a couple shows with them. And Rich lived at Discord. So they were a cool band. Steve's a great guitar player. Yeah. So they were cool.
So did you know what I want to ask you? Like, and you were talking about sort of early on with Gray Matter, like to sort of an outsider or somebody that didn't live it. Like, in your opinion, is that like the Revolution Summer era? What does this mean? Like the Revolution Summer for somebody that's sort of on the outside? Yeah,
I mean, well, it's. Basically, I always have a hard time kind of answering this question because it's like a little bit nebulous. but it really has to, it's like 1985, 84. And it really has, like, Rites of Spring is really the band that kind of
Right.
coined that in certain ways. I mean, I think like Amy Pickering or Chris Thompson may have like coined the phrase, but it's basically about getting back to your roots and getting back to, you know, what is meaningful to us. Like, we're also growing up. We were 18, 17, 16. So we're not like 13-year-olds anymore. So we're much more
Sure.
conscious. Like, people were, going to vegetarianism. People were being more socially active in, like, politically active. I mean, in looking back, it was just about, like, in my sort of estimation, just about growing up and writing lyrics that were socially conscious, that were politically conscious, that were like deeper. I mean, Guy Picciotto is a phenomenal lyricist and poet, I guess, and so that's kind of what it was about. Like, these food for thought shows that we had, that Dante kind of helped organized. If you were really into the music, you were going to show up at 10 a.m. to this health food restaurant.
I love it, man.
Yeah. And I think we had free coffee first couple of ones. And we would get good crowds. There'd be like 200 people there. And like Embrace played their first show there. I think Kingface did. Rites of Spring, maybe. So it was really about, like, okay, if you want to like enjoy this music, this is on the roof of Food for Thought, where we played our very last show for that time period. And then there's Jeff Nelson's Mises a Pig poster next to that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that in my understanding or estimation of Revolution Summer, that's kind of what it's about, I think.
No, I thank you. That really, from someone that was there, and
it wasn't about exclusion. Like, that was the other thing that's important to say, that it was about, like, I think when we were looking at Allison's photos earlier, you're like, there's not one woman in the very front of this. And that was a problem. Like, that was,
it was weird.
That was weird. Yeah. Like, there were so many women, young women that were part of the scene, like a huge part of the scene. And why don't they get to be up front, and be part of, like, that, whatever energy you get from being, like, right next to a music, the music coming off. Like, it's just, so it was about, like, inclusion more than pushing people out. But it was also about, like, well, why does it all the shows have to be at a bar? I mean, that's something that Fugazi took to, like, a really productive level, and made them really accessible and cheap, affordable, $5 for a show,
I like it. I like it a lot. It was trailblazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, you're doing these matinees, like, that's really important.
I think so.
Have young people, safe. I mean, I don't want to sound corny, but, like, a safer space. It's like not midnight. You're not like downtown somewhere. It's during the day. Catch the bus or whatever.
It's worth fighting for, man.
Yeah.
And we fight for it. And thankfully, we have a patron saint in Jesse Mallon, who is the co-owner of a lot of these clubs, who was in Mac, who played Max's at 15 years old, and who stood outside the stage door at the Palladium waiting for Joe Strummer. So he sees the inherent value in having a space where young people can come and see music and we pride ourselves on eclectic bills. It's not just 5 hardcore bands or 5 punk bands or 5 Afro punk or whatever. We really mix it up, and it's been great. It's a great thing, and like I said, it's worth fighting for, and we fight for it. I want to ask you, any perspective on this? Do you feel like this has aged well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, like, the amount of people that really like the song "Burn No Bridges" that's on here, has kind of blown us all away. It's
Yeah.
aged well. I mean, I think, I get a lot of like messages or emails like skaters really love it. It speaks to. I've been surprised how it still is. It's still in production. Like Discord still reissues it. Yep, Shoots and Ladders. I mean, those songs are so fun for us still to play. And Grey Matter has done some of the Black Cat anniversaries, or most of them. So we played last September, I think, maybe a year and a half ago. They're still really fun to play, and yeah,
you're kind of getting in front, but that's okay. You reunited to play the Black Cat on the 10th, 15th, 20th, 25th, and 30th anniversary shows. I mean, wow. Is that something that's sort of like, hey, we get together every 5 years and we play a couple shows?
We kind of were doing that. I mean, actually before, yeah, I mean, I'm feeling old now with like the 30th anniversary, but yeah, we were doing that. And right before COVID, we were actually doing some recording and have like parts of 3 or 4 or 5 songs that are sort of halfway done at Jeff Turner's studio at WGNS. Yeah, that's from, I think, the 20th anniversary, but that's just in the hallway leading backstage or, to the actual venue. And Ian and I were chatting, and then I think Alec and Dante came over, and then there's Jeff Turner, his son is there. And then that's Steve Niles and Monica Richards, Steve's wife. And the photos taken by Jeff's wife, Francesca. So it's just, it's a shot that means a lot to me. And those
great.
are just like people that I feel very close to, and have been like life changers for me, have really influenced me.
Alfred says, recording, what is this from the recording you mentioned?
That's like literally like right before COVID. It's the only time flying back that I've been to Dulles Airport, and there's like not one person in the security line. But that's the session that we were doing, and we've been trying to get back and re-record and remix some of the stuff, but we had like 3 or 4 songs. Jeff had lyrics for a couple of them. One song is definitely almost kind of finished, and that's at Jeff Turner's studio at his house. But Dante's in this band called The Owners, and he's really busy with that. Steve Niles is insanely busy writing, and he lives in LA. And Jeff Turner also, he's like a union rep for camera and film studio stuff for like news stations. So he's always flying around. So it's just hard to coordinate, but we really want to.
Hey, I want to ask you about this record here. This kind of, after you guys got back together after the first kind of split, thoughts on this, which is an interesting record.
Yeah, people either like the record cover or they hate it. I like it.
I mean,
I like it. It's this guy J.K. Potter, who is an artist that Steve Niles has known for a long time. And we got back together, and we did a tour in Europe. We did some tours out in California, and this record was supporting those tours or tours, whatever. So this is like our songwriting in 1991, 1990, around then.
Did Grey Matter ever make it like to Europe and stuff?
Yeah, we played in it was mostly Germany, Holland, and like one show in Belgium. And we were about to go on another tour, like to the UK and France. with Alice Donut, and then we broke up again. And that tour got kind of canceled. But we had a great, really good tour in Europe when we were there.
Is this early? Is this an early on? I'm not.
Yeah, that is cigarettes.
Dante smoking.
Yeah, we're all kind of cigaretting out there.
Oh yeah, you're also. Oh yeah, look at that.
That's on the roof of Food for Thought, and this is for our first record.
Okay.
So this is for the record Food for Thought.
Gotcha.
And yeah,
good, cool shot. Let me just see if I have anything else that I don't is this your stuff or a picture of your stuff before you kind of moved it down the line? I know, yeah. Is this your stuff?
Yeah,
those are, yeah. I still have all these flyers. I mean, I ended up, I was just one of those people. I wasn't a pack rat, but I just kind of saved everything. And, when my wife and I moved back to the East Coast from California, all that stuff had been boxed up for 30 years. My mom had passed away. So I kind of inherited all her stuff, and it was a little bit overwhelming. And I got back to the East Coast and I wasn't really working. And I kind of was undoing these boxes, and I was like, man, I kept everything, but it wasn't together. Like I had a ticket stub, a flyer, a set list, maybe from like the last Minor Threat show,
Right.
But I never really had them all together. And I started putting a couple photos on Instagram, and everyone was like, dude, you better like put those in better take care of those. Like that's something, that's our first show.
That's the very first show?
Very first show at Food. Yeah. That we played. Bloody Mannequin Orchestra, which is a very cool band from DC.
Right on.
And yeah, I just had all this stuff, and I felt like in some ways I was like a little embarrassed, man, that I had just like kept all this stuff. Like am I like just always down memory lane, or am I trying to be like a little kid again? But then I started, I got in touch with a couple other people that were like really into collecting flyers and just kind of giving them a new life, and and taking care of them. So I did pass a lot of stuff on, and I was just gonna say, I don't have children, and I don't really have, my wife and I don't really have any family, and so I worked in the used book business forever, and I've just seen like, man, these houses emptied and just thrown in the dumpster, of people that kind of pass away, and they have all this amazing stuff, and I wanted it to go somewhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about this a couple days ago when we were talking, and sort of, you move it down the line, and it's with somebody that cherishes it, and that loves it and finds an intrinsic value to it. And like, I'm just, for me, like, I got rid of my stuff a long time ago. I never felt like I wish I would have kept it. I'm happy that the people that it went on to, like, have like an incredible love for this stuff, and is, cherishes it. Whereas for me, it's in a box, and it's like, what, it's like, it doesn't mean that much to me personally at this point. But I understand there's people out there that, my old hardcore t-shirts and my old demo tapes, like this is like, it means a lot to them, and I'm happy that they have it.
No, I have been incredibly touched that people have been interested and giving it this new kind of, because I loved all that stuff. I remember getting in the Black Flag van. And there's like a million flyers in here. And I'm like, can I have one of these? And they're like, well, yeah. And I was like, I have a Black Flag flyer, from whatever.
Yeah.
And the beautiful art and all that cool stuff. So no, I feel the same way. And there's certainly things that I've sent back to, Ian, that's go in the Discord, like archive.
Sure.
I've had some acetates and test pressings, and that stuff. It's not so much about like the money either. Like, but it's about giving stuff a new life, and people really appreciate it and they dig it, and it's really
Well,
cool.
I had what's his name from Ancient Artifacts on the show. He was a
Brian,
guest.
yeah.
I had Brian, and we did a lot of show and tell. And
Yep.
I went to the signing, or was it the signing or the event they had here? You did an event, I think, like the next weekend
in Jersey,
in Jersey with Brian, right?
With Brian Baker and Mike Hampton,
right. And
we did like a show and tell, and it was really cool. And I mean, watching Brian, when he came over to the house a bunch of times, and him just going through the flyers and kind of handling them like they're, where I was like, oh, just throw them in a box kind of thing. And his book is really cool that he put out. Like it's given all this stuff even more of a life,
Sure. I was looking, he has at this event thing, he has like, like a loose leaf binder or whatever and stuff on the walls. And I'm like looking through some stuff and I'm like, I see an antidote set list in my handwriting. Yeah. And I'm like, in my handwriting from like probably that Rock Hotel show. I'm like, where the fuck how do you,
I had a couple antidote flyers and I was like, I don't remember getting these, but you go to a show, man, and like, they're folded up and you just take them and they're cool and people give them to you. And
whose room is this?
That's I sent that to you because that's at Inner Ear at Don's studio.
Okay.
That closed, and it's just kind of we got along with Don really well. He really liked Gray Matter, and he's like an angel. But that's just kind of what his studio looked like. He had this wall of all the records that he had done.
Right.
And we were just always so touched that he had the Gray Matter poster and you can see a bunch of the cool records that he's
the VHSs. This reminds me. It's good that I put because it is the one band talking to the DC guys, right? Ian and the one band that is sort of like it seems like the gateway to all this is the Slicky Boys.
Yeah, I mean they
like a beloved DC band. Could you give us a little take on them?
I mean, I only saw them a couple of times, like a little bit later in their career, but they were like kind of surf rock punk band, really good musicians. They had a certain look and a style. Their flyers were really cool. Yeah, I mean, I never saw them back in the day, kind of thing, but
they remind me kind of like of Devo, kind of like just sort of like just being like I never saw them, but when like
Kim Kane, the guitar player, he's just got this crazy style and outfit.
They were Devo-ish, and like and you guys loved this band.
Yeah, they were like heroes, they were that very first generation. I mean, Bad Brains were really, that to me was, and to a lot of DC people, they were the band, like I remember seeing the Bad Brains and Stimulators at 930 Club. And, it was just, man, we were all just blown away. Like they just were the band.
Are there any unsung heroes or better like any bands from that era that you just thought were just so incredible, but for whatever the reason, like they never got their just desserts? Was there anybody like that you just thought incredible, but for whatever the reason it didn't work out for them?
Yeah, I mean, I really love, and Guy Picciotto actually put it out, but John Kay, who's Chris Bald, who was in like The Faith and Embrace, his younger brother, and their name slips me right now. Or Rain, that's their name, Rain,
Rain,
Rain. They were a really good band. Bert is actually in that band.
Oh wow! Was that before the Untouchables?
No. This is much later.
Later.
80s, late 80s. But I can't really think. I mean, Bloody Mannequin Orchestra were really cool and super arty.
You know what band comes up once when I Black Market Baby.
Like, oh yeah, now that is why I should have said that. Now they
Yeah,
were.
I've asked. I think I asked Ian, or I might have asked Baker. Like that's a band that's sort of like that band. Like that's a beloved band that I guess really didn't tour much. I never saw them. You know?
Yeah, no, they were really phenomenal musicians, great songwriters, really funny. Like Boyd, the singer, was just. I mean, he could really sing, and he was hilarious on stage. And they were serious players. They were great musicians. And I think like we played one show, Iron Cross, with them in Philly, I think maybe at the Love Club, like the second Love Club.
Yeah, I remember the Love Club. Yeah.
But yeah, they never really toured. And,
yeah,
they're one, they have like they had 145, Potential Suicide, and I forget the other song that was on Limp Records, which was one of the early punk like music labels in DC pre-Discord.
Right.
And then they did one Senseless Offerings, their record on Derek Shoe's label, which I am forgetting right
Fountain
now.
of Youth?
Fountain of Youth. Yeah.
They
were Fountain of Youth. Yeah, they were they were a really good band. Love those guys. Yeah.
Right on. Hey, let me take a quick sponsor break. This will be a quick one, and we'll come back and we'll take some questions from around the world.
That sounds good.
All right. There you go. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Hey, questions. I know people have been posting questions through the whole show, but it's question time now. So go deep, get weird. Please repost them. I want to mention, oh yeah, we are sponsored by blah, 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 and 126 Hardcore Clothing. It's a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them and ramp up your game at www.126clothing.com. Come on now, Joe Romini. Last but certainly not least, the Texas Silver Rush is a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as to style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rolle, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. Information on online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram page, and of course, www.texassilverrush.com. Hey, want to mention some upcoming events? Let's start with this. February 8th, Raw Brigade, Authentic Productions NYC presents Raw Brigade, Dynamite, Never Again, Ferment, and Steamroll. We mentioned this show before, the Undead Sad Plant Star Car with Sad Ray from Iron Cross, the Car Bomb Parade featuring Mike Flattery from Incendiary Device, the Undead featuring Tristan DeGraves from Incendiary Device, and Prize Fighter. That's Sunday, February 16th. It is at Berlin, around the corner from Bowery Electric. It is part of the New York Hardcore Chronicles Back to the New York Hardcore Roots music series. It's free. It's all ages. Come on down. Bring the wife and kid. Speaking of back where it all began, we're getting back into the A7, one show only. ID and Crazy Eddie on Sunday, March 2nd. It is free, but it is not all ages. You got to be old enough to get into the bar. It's a bar. I know it's rare that we play a show like this, but we really wanted to get back in the Magic Room and play in the A7. Sunday, March 16th. If it's free, it's for me at Berlin as well. Hub City Stompers, Winterwolf, Ancient Domains, which is basically Super Touch with Matt from Bold singing, Daja, and Ill Raised. The Rai Rai Fest is Saturday, March 22nd, featuring Fishbone. We're doing Mother Pugs on Friday, April 11th. It is free as well. It is 21 plus. The Pride of Staten Island Enrage, Cropsey, ID, and Tear Gas. And then the Tompkins Square Park, our annual free show in the park on Memorial Day weekend. Non-residents, Butterbrain, Fire is Murder, End of Hope with Davey Gunner, formerly of Kraut, and Sonic Bomb. And then we mentioned it before. If you're out at Punk Rock Bowling, we are going to be playing the Fremont with a couple of our old friends, including 7 Seconds and Negative Approach. And it looks like I'm doing something else out there. I might be screening the New York Hardcore Chronicles film with some special guests. but all that's coming together now. Like I said before, please post your questions. Don't be shy. Let them fly. Everything else, thanks for the support, everyone. And let's see what we got. Hey, how you doing? You know what I wanted to ask you about before we, real quick, the band Severin.
Yeah.
This is kind of the only shot I can find. How does Severin fit into all this?
Yeah, it's when Gray Matter got back together in like 1990. I started playing also with Severin. So it's Alec Bourgeois in the red shirt on guitar and vocals, Alex Daniels in the back on drums, and Eugene Bogan on bass. And we kind of started as sort of like a little bit of a fun band. Mm-hmm. We'd maybe dress up in some like, bell-bottom pants and things, but then got a lot more serious. And we did that record on Discord. We did like maybe a 50 show tour of the US.
Wow.
We did a lot of out of town shows. Mm-hmm. It's played at CBGB's like 2 or 3 times, which was so fun. Did a lot.
What year did you do that tour?
It's probably 91, I think.
Yeah.
Like 91, 92, maybe.
Sure.
And we played with a lot of great bands and really cool clubs, historic clubs. It was so fun. And we were just like really good friends. And we did a lot of road trips together. And, we still are in touch, all of us. And yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Let's see. I have, there's some, here we go. Let me get this straight here. Well, I know where this is. I know where this shot is taken from. So I guess we should, we got a question about, here we go. How did, question from Rick Rust. How did 3 come about? I mean, obviously you're rehearsing in the Discord basement here. Right?
Yeah, when we were talking about like Discord.
Yeah. So what was it like playing with some of the Minor Threat guys?
No, that's a cool question. So Ian and Jeff were in London and they recorded that Egg Hunt 45 with John Loder. And when they came back, they were gonna like start another band together. And so they got Jeff Turner and Steve Niles to play with them. So it was Ian, Jeff, the 2 Jeffs, and Steve. They practiced at Discord a couple of times. And then I think Ian wanted to do something else. And that was the beginning of Fugazi after that. So he started playing with Brendan.
I see.
And then those guys asked me to start playing second guitar. So
in a way though, it's like most of the Gray Matter guys with Jeff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we probably practiced for like a good year before we played out.
Wow.
And we only played a handful of shows. I think we were around for like 3 years. During that time, Steve Niles was becoming more of a comic book horror writer and getting more work doing that. And so that eventually, not him doing that, but he was just getting too busy and we had to go our separate ways. But it was
Steve Niles did So Days of Night, right?
He did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty epic, man.
Yeah. No, the guy is prolific. I mean, I was joking with him when I moved out here. I was like, man, I got this box of stuff that I swear is like weighs 70 pounds of like comics and, books that you've done. So he's a really prolific writer and the guy is like a workaholic kind of. But 3 was a really cool band. We really worked at it. Like I said, we Jeff Nelson's art. He silkscreen these flyers.
Why did it come to an end? It seemed like it was sort of happening. I mean,
know.
like
I mean,
with a bunch of good guys, and you
I
guys are
agree.
making inroads.
Yeah,
Why
no,
did
I
that come to
agree.
an end?
Yeah, it just there was some like butting of heads a little bit, and just personality wise, it just didn't really play out. But
Hmm.
it's something I'm really proud of. I
Hmm.
really love the 3 songs. And we worked hard at it. We like I said, it took us like a year to get a name.
Wow.
And we practiced for a good like year and a half before we played out. And
Yeah, I remember. I
those,
remember those. I
silk
remember those days.
yeah, silk screening all those posters, man, that
Yeah,
shit took
yeah.
forever. And um Jeff he has a certain artistic style that, he's shows by the quality of his work, but he'll try like, 600 different colors to make sure that like that's the one he wants to pick
Yeah.
for his posters or t-shirts. And
Is that right? Looking at this, I didn't realize there was a Minor Threat T-shirt. I didn't
yeah,
realize they
yeah,
ever. I always thought they never like officially made it. I guess they did. There's a
yeah,
Minor Threat.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And that's Jeff's North Fourth.
yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Let's see what else. We'll do a couple more.
But
This is all right. Interesting, Alfred. Looks like you have a great record collection. What are you listening to these days? Any rare record you want to show?
oh no, I could pick one out. Yeah, you know what I've been really into lately is my wife and I is Zamrock, like the 70s. It's like acid rock from Zambia.
Wow.
And
Who knew?
yeah, there's a label out in California, which the name slips me now, but he's been reissuing these records. Really rare to find original pressings of these things, but like there's a band Witch that's currently on tour, which has the original singer from that band from the 70s. Ngozi Family are a couple of them. Blackfoot is another. So I'm super into that sound. Yeah, yeah.
I remember a couple years ago there was like a revival of like sort of these Vietnam sort of bands that sort of that whole movement was sort of brought came to an end. But there was this whole movement of like I wouldn't say 60s bands. That were like there was a scene in Vietnam, and for a couple of years ago, I was checking out that all the stuff was getting reissued and rediscovered. It was pretty cool.
No, there's some amazing music, and that's the thing with Zambia is they kind of hit this copper mining, and all of a sudden, this very poor country had this influx of money and Western money.
Yeah.
And so radio and other music, they started buying instruments, and so it's a cool blend of like Hendrix and Black Sabbath with like a Zambian sound. Yeah.
Interesting. Ray Hogan asks, what brought you to Cape May? My family's been going for generations.
Well, it was COVID, and my wife and I were living in San Francisco. We were both working at Rainbow Grocery, which is a co-op there, this grocery store. And we were just like, all of a sudden the work really, really changed. People were having people shop for them, and people were going crazy and panic shopping. And because of COVID too, we just wanted to move back to be able to like be in driving distance to our families. Sure. My dad lives in Miami. Kristen's family's up in Boston. And so that was a big part. So originally I grew up we were like, we love the beach. And we have some really good friends that have lived here. Originally we were looking like in Maryland and Delaware, and that was insanely expensive. So we just kept visiting Cape May, and we were like, man, it's pretty cool here. And there's some really sweet people, and we have really good friends here. So that's why we ended up here. And yeah, it's
a couple of you DC guys ended up down in that area, right? I mean, Neptune, Asbury Park. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the beach is nice, man. New Jersey, I never really knew that, but like New Jersey takes really good care of its beach.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm surprised you didn't end up in Asbury. Asbury kind of,
It's expensive up there now.
it's expensive, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think when Brian and his wife bought their house in Neptune, it was,
Yeah.
pretty affordable.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Ramon asked, does anyone ever mention hardcore and punk to you without knowing who you are?
Yes, a lot. Yeah.
You're like, yo, I fucking love Minor Threat, and
Yeah.
that happens. Funny stuff like.
But it's kind of
like
cool,
that.
My wife and I were in Greece this last year, and we're like at the Pantheon. Then I should have taken a photo, but there's this kid walking around with a Minor Threat T-shirt,
That's awesome.
and
that happens on. What is this photo here? Just as we kind of heading down the home stretch, what is this?
yeah. So this is the last reunion that we played at Black Cat. So this is the 30th anniversary, I believe. Yeah, this is the 30th anniversary.
Right.
So, Black Cat usually has 2 nights, like 6 bands per night. And we've often headlined them. I think Velocity Girl and someone else headlined these, but this is like the most recent shot of like, I don't know, last September, a year and a half ago or something like that. Yeah.
Is there, looking ahead, like what does the future hold? I mean, not just for the band, but I mean in general for Mark Hagerty.
Yeah, Gray Matter's definitely going to do some kind of recording, put something out. We have a bunch of stuff that has already been kind of worked on, so we're always trying to coordinate with that. I don't know. I just got renewed my British passport. And I'm going to try to renew my New Zealand, or actually get a New Zealand passport. And I don't know, we'll see what happens. We're enjoying living in Cape May right now, but, we might be moving somewhere else down the road. And I have a lot of family in New Zealand, and we visit there. It's where my mom is buried. And so we visited there quite a bit over the years.
Wow.
And
I've never been to New Zealand. It seems really beautiful.
It's just, people are calm. There's just not that many people there. And it's just, it is a beautiful place. And it's really far away. So yeah, you never know.
All right. Hey, if you ever want to come up this way and play with the Copper Tones or anything,
thank you.
I'd love to have. We'd love to have you.
I might come up to this this show that Sabs and the Undead.
Please.
His band is good, right?
That record, the record that they just had to call I said to Larry Kelly, bro, you got to listen to this. Like really put me back on my heels. He's really wearing his influences on his sleeve, but it's good. It's really a good record. It's like MC5, Stooges,
Yeah, Motorhead is in there. Early, Hawkwind is what I meant to say too.
And it's Sab Gray singing. There's moments where you hear his voice, you go, "Oh yeah, that guy."
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. No, I'm really happy for him, and like the video that he did was super cool, I thought.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad he seems just really happy as hell. John, I love you too, man. He's a Texas Rebel guy. Not done.
Thank you for coming on the show. Anybody you want to shout out? Anybody you want to thank?
I just want to thank you, and I really appreciate being. It's an honor to be here, and it's been really fun talking with you. It's been super easy. I was a little nervous.
I told you it's going to be great. I said it.
And the hardcore trading card, I'm really touched by that, man. That's really cool.
Right on.
But yeah, you have a good one, and I hope to see you really soon, man.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Let me know if you're coming up for Sab's Gray, for Sab's gig. All right. All right. Talk to you soon.
All right, my brother.
Good night. There you have it. Pow! Mark Hagerty. Great show. Fantastic. Yeah, very good. Thank you. And thank you, Jose. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, John Dunn, man. What a surprise. Thanks for coming through, man. Thanks for adding some perspective to the show. It's always nice when, bandmates and people that were there, are part of the chat room and everything else. Keep in mind, everyone, that what am I doing next? Okay, next up is 1 week from today, the Stern Brothers. And there's going to be a lot to talk about with this punk rock bowling thing coming up. Hey, Robert Hogg in Scotland, you were looking forward to it. I hope it lived up to what you hoped, you know. Thank you, Dan Neese. I appreciate it. Was Paul Stone, what's up? Thank you all. It's a good show. But then again, that's what we do. We do good shows, you know. Thank you, Darren. I appreciate it. Yeah, good stuff, you know. Can't wait for next week for the Stern Brothers. Hey, Astoria Lou on a Sunday. What happened with those football games? Did the Rangers win? You know, it was a good show. Listen, if we can't do a good show by now, you know, 300 years into this, you know, good Lord. So yeah. And I tell you, if you're in New York, this is going to be a cool show with the Undead. The Undead featuring Tristan DeGraves on bass of Incendiary Device. The Car Bomb Parade featuring Mike Flattery from Incendiary Device on drums. Star Car featuring Sab Gray, formerly of Iron Cross, on bass. You know? So Eagles are killing it, huh? Oof. Oh, boy. There you go. Oh, hey, thanks, John. I appreciate that, John. Is that you, Eon, OG, McLean, Stewart, FSA, Scott, FRIBIA? Is that you, John? I appreciate it, man. That's like cause and effect, right? You do a great show and somebody signs up for Patreon. That means a lot because we work hard at this, you know. This doesn't just magically happen. If anybody else wants to take John's lead, there's the Patreon address, there's a PayPal address. And hey, have a good Sunday, everybody. It's so great to connect with you. It is a true honor and a joy, such a joy of my life. And I mean that. Those aren't just Instagram words or whatever, man. This is a real joy of my life. So I think we're good. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kenny. Yeah, the Stern hey, John, come back, you know, for the Stern Brothers. And then we'll get you on as a guest on the show, too, at some point. You know, let's do all that. Rangers lost late again. Jesus, man. Unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That said, all right. I'm hungry. I bet you're hungry too. Thanks a lot, everybody. A Drew Stone Q&A show. We've done enough stuff like that. You know what? I don't like talking about myself anymore. Now, I do it plenty on this show. I'm working on a book, but you know. Oh, you mean the whole show is like Q&A? We'll bring my dad on. We'll bring Arnie on. You know, that's a good one. You got to bring him on. Anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. It was a fantastic show. Tell your loved ones that you love them. That is so important in this short life that we have. Until next time, do good things, and good things will come to you.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation.